I'm not new to long drives. I've done cross-state routes alone since I was 18. I'm 21 now. I drive my dad's old pickup. Beat up, reliable, loud enough to drown out my thoughts with music. 2-hour drives don't scare me. Or, they didn't until that night. It started simple. Just me, a mostly empty 3-lane highway, and a playlist of old songs I used to sing in the car with my mom. I was vibing. Windows cracked, fingers tapping the wheel. If anyone saw me, they'd think I was crazy, singing, dancing in my seat, fully immersed. I didn't realize anyone was watching. Until the semi appeared. It was in the far right lane, matching my exact speed. I was all the way in the left, just cruising, eyes on the road. Then I felt it. That prickling sensation like someone's watching you in a mirror you can't see. I looked right. There he was, middle-aged, balding, faded blue t-shirt, and smiling. That wide, forced grin people wear when they're trying. Too hard to seem friendly. He waved. I gave a small, awkward wave back, more to be polite than anything else. Maybe he thought my dancing was funny. But when I sped up to get away, he sped up too. When I slowed down, so did he. The semi pulled into the middle lane, just one lane from me now. Still smiling, still waving, still staring. I tried again to lose. Him. He mirrored every move, and worse, he blocked me from switching lanes. If I signaled to merge, he'd swerve close or box me in with another vehicle. It wasn't random. He knew how to trap me with traffic. I'd never felt more helpless in a vehicle I thought I controlled. It went on for 5 solid miles. Him smiling. Me panicking. Every time I thought I had an opening, he closed it. Then he started making gestures, holding up one finger, like just one. Just one what? 1 minute? 1 chance? 1 victim? I grabbed my phone and called 911. My voice was shaking. I gave the dispatcher his truck description. White trailer, black cab, Pennsylvania plate. I told her what he was doing. Tailing. Me trapping me, stalking me from his lane. She told me to pull over, but I couldn't. Not on the left shoulder. It was narrow and unsafe. The right shoulder was out of reach, blocked again. Then, a brake. The truck got stuck behind a slow-moving car in the middle lane. I took my chance, dropped my speed, swung 2 lanes over, and punched the gas. The dispatcher told me to head for the next service plaza. He likely won't follow you off the highway, she said. She was wrong. No brake lights, no signal. He knew I was exiting. As soon as I took the ramp, he cut across 2 lanes and followed. Perfect timing. Perfect awareness. The service plaza layout worked against him, or so I thought. Semis had to enter through a loop behind the building. Smaller vehicles like mine parked up front. I parked close to the doors. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I kept the engine on, phone still to my ear. I watched the truck creep around the back road. He stared the entire time. Not smiling now, just staring. I drove away again, this time to a gas station next door. It was elevated and overlooked the entire plaza. Maybe he wouldn't spot me, maybe I could see him coming first. I waited, then I saw him. He was out of the truck, on foot. But he didn't go inside. He ducked behind a tall concrete pillar near the plaza entrance. I could see him, peeking out, watching my parked truck, waiting for me to come back. I told the dispatcher he was hiding, that I was scared, that I didn't want to sit still anymore. She said, "Hold tight, officers are almost there." Then, he moved, came out from the pillar, walked straight toward my truck. I threw mine into gear, ready to floor it if I had to. I watched through the side mirrors as he made a slow, deliberate circle around my pickup, eyes scanning every inch. His expression had changed. That smile, it was gone. Now he looked calculating. Predatory, I snapped. Told the dispatcher I couldn't. Wait, I wasn't going to be the next face on a missing poster. I hit the gas and took off. Fast. She apologized, told me officers were still en route and would check the plaza. But I couldn't think about justice. I could only think about distance. Drove straight home. Didn't sleep that night, didn't even park in the driveway. Just pulled into a random lit parking lot and waited until daylight. I never found out what the police saw when they arrived. Never got a call back. But that wasn't the last time something like this happened. Months later, back home, I broke one of my rules. I snuck out at night, Just a quick walk to buy some weed from a guy a few streets over. I wasn't thinking about safety. I didn't carry pepper spray or a taser. I was on video call with my boyfriend, giggling like an idiot, walking along dimly lit roads. I passed railroad tracks, I passed a warehouse, then I passed a parked semi-truck. No big deal. Trucks parked there all the time. Then a voice called out, "Hola, hey." I looked over. A man leaned from the cab, Hispanic, maybe mid-30s, red long-sleeve shirt. The smile he gave me made my skin tighten. It wasn't the expression, it was the energy behind it, like he'd just spotted something he wanted. I waved politely. He started speaking in Spanish. I told him no hablo español, and kept walking. But I kept looking over my shoulder. After searching for the drop location for nearly 40 minutes with no luck, my phone was at 5%. My boyfriend told me it was time to head home. I agreed. But as I approached the tracks again, something told me, don't go that way. It was a voice in my gut, loud and urgent. So I detoured, walking toward the warehouse instead. More light there, more visibility. As I passed some trailers near the edge of the building, I heard it again, "Hey." He stepped out from behind one, the same man, same smile. He'd been waiting, one hand in his pocket, the other gesturing. "Come here." I froze. My boyfriend heard it all. I whispered, "Wake your dad. Come get me. Now." The man's expression dropped. Anger. Then he ducked behind the trailers again, slinking away. I ran, crossed the main road, found a mini-mart, and hid behind an ice machine. I told my boyfriend I was hanging up and called a friend instead. By some miracle, he was out with his girlfriend and told me he'd come right away. I stayed hidden. Then I saw the semi. It rolled slowly down the street. He was scanning the parking lot, looking for me. He stopped, shook his head like he was disappointed, then drove off. Even then, I didn't feel safe until my friend pulled up. I got in and broke down crying. His girlfriend held my hand, told me I was okay, but I didn't feel okay. I'd always thought I was safe because I wasn't the type predators went after. I wasn't small, I wasn't pretty, I was invisible. But predators don't care about looks, they care about opportunity. They care about who's alone, and I was always alone. I don't know if the two incidents were connected, if it was the same man in both trucks, if I'd been marked that first night on the highway. But I know this: next time someone stares too long, smiles too wide, follows too far, I won't wave back, and I won't wait for help to arrive. I was halfway through a cross-country drive from Phoenix to Atlanta, road tripping solo after a messy breakup that left me needing space and distance. The plan was simple: drive through Texas, crash at cheap motels, keep my Spotify playlists rolling, and make it to my cousin's place by the weekend. The problem with plans is they rarely account for the unpredictable. It was just after 1 a.m. when I realized I needed gas. I'd been driving for hours, the highway stretching endlessly through some forgotten stretch of rural Louisiana. No towns for miles, just trees and more trees, and my gas gauge blinking with a low fuel warning. That's when I saw it, a glowing, weather-beaten sign flickering through the fog. Pete's 24-hour gas and service. It stood crooked like it might fall in a strong breeze, perched beside a single-lane exit off the interstate. I didn't have much choice. I turned. The road to the station was gravel and badly maintained. I drove slowly, headlights bouncing as I pulled up to a squat, old-school gas station that looked like it hadn't been renovated since the 70s. A single pump, a dusty vending machine, a lone fluorescent light buzzing above the garage. I almost kept going, but then the attendant stepped out from behind the glass door, waving. He looked like someone's grandpa, late 60s, tall, wiry with oil-stained overalls, and a smoker's voice. He smiled wide and called out, "Late night drive, huh? Where you headed?" "Atlanta," I said, forcing a polite smile. Long haul for a young lady all by herself. My stomach clenched a little at how quickly he pointed that out. "Yeah, figured I'd make good time while the roads were empty," I said. He nodded slowly. "Well, let's get you topped off." I swiped my card. Nothing happened. "Pump's a little touchy," he said. "Why don't you let me handle it from inside?" I hesitated. He walked into the office before I could respond. Inside my car, I felt the distinct chill of unease crawl across my neck. I brushed it off. He was probably just old school, used to operating things manually. I checked my phone, no signal. Not even a single bar. Typical. A few moments later, he came back out and started the pump. "Need anything from inside?" he asked. "Snacks? Water?" "No, I'm good." "Just gas," I said firmly. He gave a little wave and went back inside. I waited for the pump to click, and waited, and waited. The number on the screen ticked up very slowly. After what felt like 10 minutes, it had barely moved past 2 gallons. I got out confused and checked the nozzle. It was working, but barely. A thin trickle of fuel. I walked to the window and knocked. The man looked up from behind the counter, startled. He stepped outside. "It's really slow," I said. "Old pump," he replied. "She's finicky. Is there another station nearby?" He smiled again, but something in his eyes changed. Just a flicker, like the mask slipped for half a second. "Not this time of night, you're lucky we're open." I thanked him, trying to keep things neutral. When I turned back to my car, I noticed something else. My rear tire looked flat. Not all the way, but definitely lower than when I stopped. I crouched down, checking it closely. A slow leak? But it was fine when I pulled in. I stood up and saw him watching me. "Looks like your tire's going soft," he said. "Yeah, weird. I can take a look in the garage if you want." "I'll be fine," I said, heart pounding. He just stared at me for a moment. "No trouble, miss, I'm just trying to help." I forced a smile. "Appreciate it." I got back in my car and locked the doors. The pump finally clicked off. I checked the screen. Only 5 gallons. That was enough to get me back to the highway and to another town. But when I tried to start my car, it didn't turn over. Nothing. I froze. Turned the key again. Click. Click. Dead. My headlights had worked a second ago. My battery was fine. I tried. The lock button. Power was still on, just no ignition. I looked toward the window. The man was watching me again. I popped the hood, stepped out, and opened it, just for show. I didn't know what I was looking for. Everything looked fine, but I knew one thing: this wasn't random. He walked out a second later. "Engine trouble?" I clenched my teeth. "Yeah, it won't start." He nodded solemnly. "Well, you're in luck. Got tools in the garage. Let's have a peek." Against every instinct I had, I let him approach the hood. He bent over the engine, poked around for a bit, then said, "Fuel lines come loose, real strange, simple fix though." I couldn't prove it, but in that moment I was sure he'd done something to disable it. He disappeared into the garage for a minute and returned with a tool. "Just give me a minute here." As he worked, I heard a sound from behind the building. Footsteps, on gravel. I turned, heart skipping, and saw movement in the shadows. Another figure, someone else, a man in a hoodie, maybe younger than the attendant but taller. Just standing there, half concealed behind the corner of the building, watching. Backed away slowly toward the driver's door. "Is someone else here?" I asked. The attendant didn't look up. "Don't worry about him, that's just my nephew, helps around the shop." His voice was too casual. I didn't reply, just quietly slid back into the driver's seat and locked the doors again. A minute later, the hood slammed shut. "Try it now," he said. I turned the key, the engine coughed, then started. Relief flooded through me. I gave him a thumbs up and mouthed, "Thanks." He grinned and waved. I threw the car into drive and peeled out of the lot without stopping to say another word. As I rejoined the highway, I glanced in the rear view. The man and his nephew were still standing there, watching me go. I drove straight through the night until I hit Baton Rouge. Didn't stop. Didn't breathe easy until I was surrounded by city lights and other people. Later, at a real gas station, I opened the hood again. The fuel line was zip-tied in a way that didn't make sense, like someone had intentionally loosened it, then reconnected it just enough to function again. I called a mechanic friend. He said no line should ever look like that. I didn't report it. Part of me still wonders if I imagined it all, if maybe it was coincidence, bad luck, paranoia. But I know what I felt, what I saw. He never wanted to fix my car, he wanted me to need him. I've always believed that kindness costs nothing. That belief, more than anything else, nearly got me killed last summer on I-90. I'm a long-haul trucker, been on the road 15 years, seen all kinds of strange things, weather that changed in a blink, animals that stared a second too long, even a naked guy running across a cornfield in Nebraska at 3 a.m. But nothing prepared me for what happened outside Missoula, Montana. I was hauling frozen meats east toward Minneapolis. Nothing unusual. Left Spokane around midnight, planned to ride until dawn. The weather was crisp, the road quiet, just the hum of the tires and my radio to keep me company. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I saw him. A man standing on the shoulder, right thumb up right in the beam of my high beams. He looked clean, normal. Backpack slung over one shoulder. Jeans, hoodie, nothing sketchy. I've passed dozens of hitchhikers before. But something about the way he stood, like he expected me, made me tap the brakes. I slowed to a crawl and leaned over. "Where you headed?" He smiled, like he'd been waiting for me. "East. Far as you'll take me." I hesitated. A voice in my head said, "Don't." Another, louder voice said, "He's just a kid. Be decent." "Hop in," I said, unlocking the passenger door. He climbed up smoothly, set his bag down, and shook off the cold. "Thanks," he said, voice calm, steady. "I've been out here a while." "No problem," I said. "Name's Mike." He didn't offer his, just nodded. We pulled back onto the highway. For a while it was quiet. He didn't fidget, didn't talk much, just stared out the window. Then he said, "You've been driving this route for a long time." It wasn't a question. I glanced over. "Yeah, you familiar with the area?" He smiled. "Not really, but I know you're careful. You always stop before you're too tired." "That's smart." That made me blink. "How do you know that?" "You've got a pattern. Same stops, same brands of coffee. Route 52 for fuel. Hotel 6 in Fargo, always room 107. I stared at him. "What did you say?" He turned slowly to look at me. "You left your ex-wife because she kept checking your GPS logs. Thought you were cheating." My hands clenched on the wheel. "How the hell do you know that?" He tilted his head. "You ever wonder if someone's been following you longer than you realize?" The cab felt cold. I turned the heat up, but it didn't help. "Who are you?" I asked, heart pounding now. He looked forward again. "Just someone who listens." I was debating pulling over when he spoke again. "You shouldn't have lied to your brother about your dad's inheritance. That's why you haven't spoken in 6 years. I slammed on the brakes. The truck screeched to a halt, tires smoking. On the shoulder. "Get the hell out," I barked. He didn't move, just smiled. "You don't remember me, do you?" I reached across, yanked the door open. "Now." He looked at me one last time. "You let me die, Mike." Everything stopped, my breath, my heartbeat, the sound of the wind outside. "What?" His eyes were different now, no longer brown, but pitch black. "You don't even remember." "The rest stop off I-80, summer of '09. You drove off while I was still in the bathroom. Took my wallet by mistake. I felt like the world tilted under me. That did happen. A guy I picked up from Reno. We stopped to piss. I thought he'd ditched me. When I came back, I drove off. Found an extra wallet in my glove box an hour later. I tossed it at the next truck stop. Guilt tugged at me, but I didn't go back. How could you possibly? I walked 3 miles with a broken ankle before collapsing. They found me days later, too late. I was shaking. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." He leaned forward. "I don't want an apology." The lights in the cab flickered. "I want to finish the ride." The engine died. All power gone. We were in complete darkness. I tried the ignition. Nothing. My radio was dead. Even my phone screen stayed black. He sat back, calm. "I just wanted you to know that I remember." Then he opened the door and stepped out into the dark. As soon as the door shut, the power came back on. Headlights, dashboard, radio. I sat there for what felt like forever. I never saw him again. Long-haul trucking can be lonely. You see things out there in the dark, shapes in the fog, headlights that disappear, abandoned shoes on the shoulder with no sign of an owner. Most of it you learn to ignore. But some things stay with you. Some things follow you. It happened 2 years ago in northern Arizona. I was hauling cargo from Phoenix up to Flagstaff on the I-17. It was late, just after midnight. Dry, cold air. My CB radio was quiet, and the highway was emptier than usual. No cars behind, none ahead, just me, the stars, and the stretch of blacktop rolling out into the hills. I remember thinking how peaceful it felt, how the desert night almost seemed to hum. I was sipping coffee, humming to an old Johnny Cash song, when I saw her. At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, maybe fog catching my high beams, but no, it was a girl. Standing dead center in the highway, barefoot, wearing a long white dress. She didn't move, didn't flinch. I slammed the brakes, tires shrieking, against the asphalt, pulling the wheel just enough to swerve past her. The trailer rocked hard. Coffee flew everywhere. When I finally stopped, heart pounding, I threw on my hazard lights and leapt out of the cab. "Hey, are you okay?" Nothing. The road behind me was empty. No girl, no white dress, no footprints in the dust. I stood there for a full minute, shaking, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. I started doubting myself. Maybe I'd imagined her. Long hours, little sleep. It wouldn't be the first time fatigue played tricks on a driver's eyes. Still, I reported it over CB. Another trucker chimed in. "You sure she was real?" he asked. "Looked real to me," I said. "Young, maybe 16. Long black hair." There was silence. Then the trucker said, "You need to get off that road." "What are you talking about?" "You just saw the highway girl." "That's what," he called her. "The highway girl." He told me a story, how years ago a teenage girl was walking that same stretch at night. Her car had broken down. She was hit by a trucker who never stopped. Body was found days later, dress shredded, bones broken. Since then, drivers have reported seeing her, always on cold, clear nights, always standing in the road. "She's not real," he said. "But if you stop for her, she might try to be." I laughed it off. Sounded like urban legend nonsense. I wish I'd kept laughing. I drove another hour before stopping at a rest area. It was small, just a few spots, a couple vending machines, and a dim bathroom shack. I parked under a flickering light and stepped out to stretch. That's when I noticed the footprints, barefoot. Prints in the dust just behind my trailer. They circled the truck once, carefully, as if someone had been walking around it. Watching. I scanned the lot. Nothing. No cars, no people. Just desert silence. I slept in the cab that night with the doors locked and the knife from my glove box in my hand. When I woke up, the footprints were gone. The dust had been disturbed, scuffed like someone tried to erase them. But I know what I saw. I didn't mention it to anyone again for a while. Not until it happened a second time. 3 weeks later. Different route, different state. This time, I was in Missouri on Route 63 heading north. Around 1:45 a.m., in the middle of nowhere, she appeared again. Same girl, same white dress, same spot in the road. Only this time, she looked at me. Just as I swerved, our eyes locked for a half second. Hers were wide, bloodshot, and full of something worse than pain. They were full of intent. When I stopped the truck again, there were no signs she'd ever been there. But this time, I didn't leave the cab. The next morning, I found long black strands of hair caught in my side mirror. No animals nearby, no people. Just that hair, still damp with morning dew. I started digging. I called other truckers, asked around online. More stories came up, some guys laughed it off. Others got real quiet. One guy told me his buddy swerved for her, wrecked his rig, died on impact. The official report said driver fatigue. But he'd called dispatch seconds before and said, "There's a girl in the road." Another swore he woke up at a rest stop with scratches on his truck. Human fingernails had etched 4 words into the dust on his window. "Why didn't you stop?" I nearly quit the job after the 3rd sighting. This time she was waiting in a gas station parking lot in Oklahoma. I'd stopped for diesel, stepped out, and there she was, standing under the canopy near pump 3. She didn't move, didn't blink. No one else saw her. The clerk said the security cams didn't show anyone. But my dash cam? When I checked the footage, later there she was, flickering in and out of the frame, like static on an old TV. Every time I looked directly at the lens in the clip, she disappeared. But when I looked away, she reappeared behind me. I deleted the file. Didn't want to keep it. Didn't want her to know I still saw her. It's been months since I last spotted her, but I think about her every time I'm driving at night. Every time I crest a hill or round a bend and the beams of my headlights stretch into the distance. I know she's still out there, waiting. And if you ever see her, just keep driving. Whatever you do, don't stop. Long-haul trucking teaches you routine. You learn the rhythm of the road, when to drive, when to sleep, which truck stops are clean, which ones to avoid. It's a life of patterns, where small disruptions stand out like blood on fresh snow. That's why I noticed him the first time. I was parked at a Love's in Arkansas, fueling up around midnight. Quiet night, clear sky, a few other rigs humming in the distance. I went inside to grab coffee and stretch my legs, and there he was, standing, front of the refrigerated section, just staring. Gray hoodie, faded jeans, pale skin, and the darkest eyes I've ever seen. Not black like ink, but like empty holes, like looking into a tunnel that never ends. He didn't move when I walked past, didn't blink, just watched me. I thought maybe he was tweaking. Meth heads aren't exactly rare in the middle of nowhere. I paid no mind, got my coffee and went back to the truck. Didn't think about him again, until I saw him at the next stop, and the one after that. 3 nights later, different state, Tennessee. I pulled into a pilot off I-40. I was just finishing up my second cup of gas station sludge when I noticed the man again. Same hoodie, same jeans, same eyes. He wasn't looking at me this time. He was standing outside near the tire air station, hands in pockets, watching a woman struggle with her trunk. Something in my gut twisted. I turned away for a second just to break the tension, and when I looked again, he was gone. No car, no footsteps, just empty pavement. I chalked it up to sleep deprivation. I'd only slept 3 hours in the past 24. Shadows play tricks, untired eyes, but I started paying attention. Missouri. Cold night, somewhere near Columbia. I stopped at a mom-and-pop truck stop, one of those old-school places with flickering neon signs and more bugs than customers. I pulled in for diesel, and as I got out to pump, I spotted him again. This time, he was standing across the lot behind a line of broken vending machines, facing me. Still, silent. I took a step forward, and I swear to God, he smiled, not like a normal person. His lips peeled back slow, stretching too far, like his face was remembering how to move. That's when I noticed. He wasn't aging. Same clothes, same skin. Like he hadn't changed since Arkansas. Not even a new stain on his hoodie. I left without fueling, drove 6 hours straight to get away. My hands were shaking on the wheel the whole time. That night, parked on the side of the road, I pulled out my logbook and marked the 3 stops where I'd seen him. A rough triangle across the south. Checked the timestamps, distances, and routes. No matter how I looked at it, it didn't make sense. He would have had to be ahead of me by hours without ever passing me, always appearing like he knew where I'd be. It was like he wasn't following me. He was leading me somewhere. About a week later, after avoiding truck stops altogether, I gave in and pulled into a large Flying J in Texas. Crowded, busy. I figured safety in numbers. I went to use the restroom. Took 5 minutes, tops. When I returned to my truck, the passenger door was slightly ajar. I never leave it unlocked. Inside, everything looked untouched, until I checked the glove box. Sitting on top of my registration was a photo, a Polaroid, of me, sleeping, in my cab, taken from the driver's side window. I sat there for nearly an hour, lights on, hazards blinking, knife in my lap. Then I drove. No destination, just drove until the sky turned gray. I called an old buddy, Rick, another trucker I used to ride convoys with. He was the kind of guy who laughed at ghost stories, but when I told him about the photo, he got quiet. "You sure it's the same guy?" he asked. I told him I was. "That sounds like Ghost Driver," he finally said. "The what?" he explained. Truckers whisper about this figure, a man seen at various stops across the country. He never ages, never speaks, always watching. Some say he's a serial killer. Others say he's something worse, an omen. They say if you see him once, it's a fluke. Twice it's a problem. 3 times. You're already on his road. I asked what that meant. He didn't answer. Just told me to be careful. The final encounter came 2 weeks later in New Mexico. I had been avoiding truck stops, sleeping in Walmart lots and diners instead. But I was low on fuel and found a rest. Area near Gallup. It was run down. One of those forgotten places on a dying stretch of highway. I pulled in just as the sun dipped behind the hills. No other trucks, no lights, just desert wind and sand. And there he was, standing on top of a nearby hill, arms outstretched, like he'd been waiting. I locked my doors, kept the engine running, then my radio crackled, just static at first, then a voice. "You're here, just like I said you'd be." My blood ran cold. It was his voice, calm, measured. "You followed the road, just like I needed. Now all that's left is to open the door." My cab door clicked, unlocked itself. I slammed it shut and floored the gas, spinning dirt into the air. Drove until I hit an open truck plaza with people and lights and noise. Didn't stop shaking for an hour. I sold the rig a month later. Took a warehouse job, swore off the road. But every now and then, late at night, I'll catch a glimpse of a man in a gray hoodie standing near the loading dock, watching, waiting, leading. Don't know where the road ends for him. I just know I never want to find it.